Cindy. So I'm a textile designer. Was based in London until 2 days ago. Now I'm going to be based in Cape Town. So this is a combination of a return to home in many ways. So my approach to design really comes from my architectural training. I try to look at materials first before doing any process. And I feel like as design practitioners, we have so many opportunities to make change within our supply chain that can really empower people that we work with. And so, what I try to do with my work is have an approach which really starts from the basic material. So it's like the cotton, the basic material, and through my entire supply chain, how can I empower people and make, mainly women I work with women's lives better so that hopefully it won't be just me going to St. Martin's, but other young children of Africa going to St. Martin's at some point.
So you show them some of your work?
Yes. So what are we showing them? The video first. Oh yeah, so this is just an idea. This is just like kind of stuff that I do. So it's a lot of silk and a lot of hand woven crafts. So yeah, what does honesty mean in design? My feeling is honesty is really about transparency and being really transparent about your supply chain. There's so much exploitation in fashion and in just design in general. And I believe that it's just not good enough anymore to make beautiful objects. It's just not good enough. I think there has to be something else to the design you're making. I also don't think it's good enough to have a vague idea of how people are getting paid in the things that you're making. I think we need to question, because we are customers, sorry, we are customers. So we need to question and really think of ourselves really as like people who have creative ammunition in making real change in the work that we do. As mentioned, I work with the Ethical Fashion Initiative. It's a UN initiative. And I just wanted to play you a short video of the sort of work that they do, the sort of work that I do with them.
Lucy struggled growing up in one of the countless tin shacks in Nairobi's sprawling Korogocho slum. By 16, she had turned to sex work, giving birth to 3 children over the years. When her sister died of AIDS, she took her son and another mouth to feed.
I'm
I'm a single mother with 4 kids. Before ethical fashion, I couldn't educate my kids, but now I can and provide for them anything they need.
Ethical fashion kuingilia kati.
Lucy's work for the Ethical Fashion Initiative, first as a seamstress, now a supervisor, allowed her to see a new life for herself and her family. Ethical Fashion Africa is a not-for-profit group created by the International Trade Center, a joint effort by the UN and the World Trade Organization to empower marginalized people by linking them up with fashion houses and distributors.
Trade, economic activities, markets can also be married with human development, with women economic empowerment, with poverty reduction. And this is what the fashion industry has understood.
For the fashion designers that work in this project, this is an economic activity. It's about making money, about making profits, but you can also make profits in a social, sustainable way. The initiative has expanded from Kenya to Burkina Faso, Ghana and Haiti, with plans for future expansion on the continent and in Asia. Hubs in Nairobi, Accra and Port-au-Prince receive commissions from designers, provide training and organize production of bags, jewelry and fabrics by the locals.
We talk about responsible fashion as if it were a segment of fashion, but it is not. It's fashion. Fashion in a few years' time is going to be like this. It's like the hybrid cars, it's like the electric, it's not the car of today, but it's the car of the future.
By linking artisanal skills like sewing and beading with top fashion houses, Ethical Fashion hopes to create products that are both beautiful and meaningful. Noel Makugu, CCTV.
So the initiative, we do work with lots of different designers. Some of the designers are Vivienne Westwood, Mimco, there's a range. I work mainly in Burkina Faso with artisans from Burkina Faso who do a lot of hand weaving. Jumpsuit I'm wearing today is one up there. Is this short video just show you how it's made. But basically, what does honesty mean in practice? And number one, it's like knowing where your materials come from. So this is African cotton that is hand spun in Burkina Faso and then hand woven. And this is a hand weaving process. So it's a real kind of craft based process. Um, and I work with the artisans in getting the right colors, dyeing it properly so that you can make something punchy out of a real sort of traditional craft. So combining the two, making the craft relevant to today's market, but still having that lovely sense of like craft and empowerment through it. What's the other way? Oh, there's another dress that was also, so these two garments, again, it's a hand weaving process. And we work together and really trying to, the grid is the hardest thing to weave, actually, strangely. I was like, I want a grid. They're like, no, 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 very difficult. I was like, what's the colors? But we worked together and really trying to create a grid that was like, you know, had a sort of almost architectural feel to the garment. And again, it's like choosing the right colors, getting the colors right so that you can go to market. Because what we were finding a lot of the time working with the people was you were having a very, almost too bright. It was like almost too traditional. And I think that's the whole kind of bridging the gap. I think working with artisans and designers is getting things to be relevant to today's kind of market. Um, what's the second thing about honesty is so this silk dress was printed in London and I've been using my suppliers in London for almost 10 years now. And when I was talking to Ross, we were saying how I think being a designer is like you're both a customer and I think when you're developing a relationship with any supplier, it's really important to almost think of it like a marriage. You know, they're going to be like ups and downs. And I've had situations where fabric comes, there's a fault. But because of this relationship, this honest relationship I have with my supplier, whenever there's a problem, they'll reprint it. And I think, and this is my sort of also like key to like suppliers is just it's really important for people to like understand, yes, you will make mistakes, but it's more important for you to kind of find that mistake as an opportunity to make a change in your practice or make a change in your business, than just kind of go, oh, no, sorry, that's how it is, bye-bye. And then you're not going to go back there again. And it's a waste of everyone's time. So I just think honesty and mistakes is also something that I feel quite passionate about. And also for me, like with my clothing, if I have customers who come through the stand and go, oh, I don't really like the way this fits or whatever, I'll, question that. Why? What's up? Like, there's actually having a kind of like honest conversation and not feeling like I am the master creator, but actually, like, we're here, we're human, and at the end of the day, I'm a woman, I want to look good. Like and kind of being humble, I think, is part of the sort of being honest in your practice. The other thing I really want to talk about, and I know there's some designers within this group, is sharing suppliers. I think is a really good, honest practice. Also, like I said, I work with a couple of people in Burkina Faso, and I've already started introducing them to colleagues of mine and friends of mine at St. Martin's. And like there are two designers here, Laduma, and no, Keith isn't here, but like two designers, AKJP and Laduma, and when I moved back and was in the process of moving back, they were amazingly sharing all their suppliers. And I think, again, as practitioners, we shouldn't think of this tiny little pie that we can't, we all need to hold on to things. I just think that's like, your success is your success. If you're confident in the products that you make, there's no reason we shouldn't just share all these suppliers and also share like, if there's like, something they feel like, oh, that guy's a bit dodgy, actually, maybe don't go there. Like, giving people a heads up, that's another kind of honest practice and an honest way of like working together. Because I feel like there's so much abundance. There's a huge market. There's a big pie, basically. And so I think as designers and I think it's really important for us to really use opportunities when finding suppliers. If you have a good silk guy, or if you need a good silk guy, actually, I know a lot of good silk people, but, like, come to me, like, ask, like, because at the end of the day, like I say, we're all human, and it's so much nicer to just share the pie rather than hold on to things, and yeah. And then finally, I guess we were just sort of going to ask the question back to the audience is, maybe for yourselves asking, what are you honest about, and how are you being honest about your practice at the moment? And I think that's almost yeah, you can sort of pull out the audience. There you go.
Yeah, so I mean, my question to you is, something you were talking about is being comfortable with the work you're putting out, but not just the output of it, but the kind of every one of those steps. How is that something that you've kind of weaved into your process and feeling comfortable with what's out there with your name on it?
Well,
your eponymous label.
My eponymous label. The thing is, I'm present at every stage. So I've seen where the cotton's been picked. I've seen the hand weaving. I've been there for every stage. I go to my suppliers all the time. I think one of the biggest, when you're small, you actually can be very kind of, flexible. You can go out, you can see things. If you're like a huge corporate like Woolworths or whatever, it's much harder to like go to China every sort of 2 weeks to check out what's going on in the factory. Are those people being treated well? But I feel like because I'm small, from the beginning of the product right through to the end game, I'm present in those steps. I think that's really part of it, is being present in the process.
And I suppose being present at that, like every part of it, is anything kind of interesting happen to you, unexpected? Like, have you had any kind of life experiences as a result of kind of being engaged in the process from beginning to end?
Yeah, I mean, so I worked with this one CMT in Cape Town, and he actually had a pension package or a package for all the workers, because making clothing is quite physical work, and women get to 20, 30 years of making, and they end up having back problems, eye problems, like loads of issues. So I found this guy was amazing. He used to make loads of shirts, and I got him through Keith, who recommended him to me. But he had this wonderful pension package for his workers, so that at the end of, he would take a little bit out of their pay, but at the end of their time with him, they would walk away with something. And it would also, because, once you've lost the physicality, you cannot sew again. What else can you do? You're 50-something, you can't get another job. It's all you know. So I thought it was I thought it was quite an inspiring way of actually, protecting the people who make your business. And I think that's also something I feel is really, it's key, like having some kind of a package or pension package and stuff. So I thought, that was quite a surprise and interesting way, also from a CMT, it's cool.
So I suppose you selling this idea of kind of being open and honest and generous and inclusive kind of all the way through the chain. Do you find that there's ever been a moment where that has backfired? Or so is this all rosy, or are there times when it actually gets quite tricky?
I think it gets tricky with, so it does get tricky sometimes, especially again working with CMTs, because you gain a trust element, and then sometimes, like once I did a Woolworths campaign at the beginning of the year, and I did trust my supplier, wholeheartedly, and I got some garments which couldn't get into stores because they weren't the right quality. So I think also, people will let you down, and I think, definitely there have been moments where you think, oh gosh, maybe there's been too much trust given to these people. That's why I say being present is so important, because I was actually managing that process in London over the phone, but if I was present, probably that mistake wouldn't have happened, because I would have been like, nope, those collars don't work, we can't do that. And so I think definitely I think being present in your supply chain is probably, I guess, for me, the biggest take home. But the other thing I was going to say is, it's really important to train. I have learned so much I work with a couturier in London, and I've learned so much about the art of couture through her. And we want to start a couture school in Cape Town when I move. It's my new project, future. But basically, I think, for everyone who has their small little design business, there's no reason why what you do, you want to learn. If you go into any job, you want to learn, you want to grow, you want self-development. Same with every single person behind that sewing machine. Everybody wants self-development, feeling empowered, feeling better about themselves. So, after a year, they should know another skill. They can't just be sewing that collar for 20 years. And I think that's kind of the other thing, I think, is we need more training and more kind of senior peoples in businesses to say to themselves, it's fine. Even if I have 4 people in my company, I need to train them. I need to give them a new skill so that when they leave me, hopefully they can get a better job than they were with me. And, and I do think it's like karma. I feel like, you do good, it's going to come right back to you, because people go, oh, you're going to train all these women and they're going to be couturiers and then they're going to go work for someone else. I'm like, great, and then they'll make more money. Good. And I just think it'll come back to you. Like, all of these things come back to you. And again, it's like, the pie is huge. You don't need to be stingy. Knowledge is power. And I just think if I can give out as much as my knowledge to other people, the better.
So I suppose my last question for you before we open it up to the audience is, you're doing it almost in reverse to the way a lot of kind of African designers are trying to do it. So there's lots of people who are starting locally, starting in South Africa, and then trying to break into markets like London. What's inspiring you to do it in reverse? So you've kind of made it in London and now you're moving back to Africa or to Cape Town to sort of work.
I think again it comes back to the being present thing. I think it is quite difficult to do the work I do work in KwaZulu-Natal also with some leaders. I think you can't be physically in Africa like I want to be and be living in London. So that's part of it. I also realized the luxury market. So like one of these, there's an amazing store called Net-a-Porter, and Net-a-Porter made a turnover of £1.8 billion in 2017. And of I think they've got about 300 designers on there. Only one is African. So I also have this thing where we're just not in the game. Like, we really need to get a bit of that pie, that 1.8 billion pie. So I feel like if I'm home and I can do a back and forth, it's kind of a stronger way of trying to get into that. Like, because I have a lot of shops in London and in Milan, but like it's trying to like actually make more of the stuff here and so that we have more of the pie. Because right now, the pie is all that's basically, so, and I think that's something that a lot of like South African designers, we do struggle with trying to get the exposure abroad and stuff. But I do think, again, like I've shared contacts of my agents with my design friends, because at the end of the day, I'm confident in my stuff and what I do, and if I can introduce someone and they can also hopefully go to Milan Fashion Week, great. It's only better.
How do you balance the socially responsible work that you're doing and being financially stable, especially for small design teams, to do the interesting, impactful work and balance, make that long-term sustainable? And then a second thing, where can I get my wine? One of your one for you.
I'm stand number 37. Just right on there.
Yeah, so you just walk down there. It's the second last shop on the right-hand side. You get no discount for being at Creator Mornings. Thank you.
But no, I think, so I treat each collection like a project. So it'll be less, I don't make loads. I don't have loads of different options and I just quite clear about minimal amount of waste in my process, because obviously the more options you have, the more money you have to spend, the harder it is. So I do everything really more on that kind of project basis. So I'll go out, I'll say, I want to make 2 types of hand-woven fabrics, and then I will go to Burkina Faso, we will do the process, and then I'll come back. And then that'll be my kind of investment in that process. So I think small, almost project by project basis. And over time, obviously that develops into a collection of work, but it definitely started off for me with one thing, another idea and stuff. Sure.
You didn't ask the most important question in there, is why did you choose Cape Town and not Johannesburg?
Because Johannesburg is London, and I need a beach, I love Johannesburg. It's definitely culturally much more. Oh God, Cape Town, but it is more interesting culturally. It is. It's got a pulse. It's got a London pulse. I love it, but I also want to have a beach in my life.
How did you start?
So I did a competition called the L New Talent Competition. That was 4 years ago, I think I did it, 4 or 5 years ago. But I guess so that's how I started my label. But how I started working in fashion was I worked as a stylist, actually, for about 10 years. And that's the other thing I always tell design students is work. If you want to learn the most stuff, work. Running a business is really difficult. And I think working, you learn the mistakes of the people who you are working for. And you also get their contacts. And so I think, one take home I always say to students is always work, even if it's like for a year, just like get out there, work experience, internships. But yeah, I worked as a stylist for 10 years. And then through that came starting my label.
If you think about like your job, right, part of it is the supplier side. It's the creation of the design and all that stuff. And then the other side of it is the marketing and the sales side. So it's the revenue side and the like, given the way you're approaching this kind of ethical sourcing, is it harder on the supply side, working that side? Or is it much harder getting traction on the marketing and the sales side? Where's your bigger
Much
energy?
harder on traction.
On the sales side?
On the sales side. Because nobody, so this jumpsuit, for example, is 3,500 Rand. But unless you see the video of how it's made on a loom, people don't get it. People just go, why? Why is it so expensive? And it's like, because it's made by hand. Like, it's literally woven by hand. It's not a machine that made this fabric. It's a hand that made this fabric. And I think, so definitely getting traction, people will spend a lot of money on certain fabrics like silks and whatnot. But when you're trying to get someone to spend a lot of money on a cotton, they'll go, oh, but it's just cotton. So I think that's the hardest bit, is actually trying to educate what the process is. So definitely the marketing side. But again, I always say to people, it's so good to partner up. Like I have partner up with my best friend, and she's amazing at that sort of marketing, Insta story thing. Like she's very good at communicating, which is, I think also you got to play to your skills. Like my skills, I'm a colorist. I love color. I work, like that's the thing that comes natural to me. I love prints. And so I try to play to my skills, and then with skills I don't have, and try and find within my circle people to support me, maybe do some kind of exchange. So again, it's like, there's lots of talented people around you. You just need to pull in. Yeah.
So you say that traction, like understanding the value of the fabrics or what you're creating is a hard thing. Do you find that once people do find that value, that they are more loyal? Is there like, once they switch, is it?
Definitely. I think when if people feel good about the fact that they're helping someone, and I would like eventually to have like a story of someone who actually started off. I mean, I've only been going for 4 years, but I'd like a story of, I'm working with these people now, and after 10 years, this is her son, he's now gone to UCT. I'd love that kind of story, and I think those things matter, because I don't think it's not just up to NGOs and government and all to make change. It's up to us also, like, can't just be like, oh, I pay my taxes, that's why, like, no, it's up to you too. You're a consumer, and also, like, it's up to you when you make your consumer choices. Like, where am I going to spend my dollar? Like, I think that's really, it's like, there's power in that choice that you make. And you can make real impactful change with that choice.
Going into the African markets, what milestones do you think you have achieved in making sure that the people who sew your fabrics get the best from it? Because sometimes people are exploited in the process. But what do you think can be done to make sure that they also receive good wages and also sustain their communities?
That's a very good question. So with the hand weaving side, I've been very lucky. I work at the UN, so I know no exploitation there. Otherwise it'd be really good. But when it comes to like CMTs and stuff, I do kind of gently ask, it's like, and I'm there all the time. Like I do these trips to Cape Town, and I'm just basically like, so like, how does it work? Like, and I come kind of a little bit like, oh, I don't know how this all works. Like, if I were to like employ someone, what would the price be? Like, how much would the wage? I mean, what do you do with wages? So you kind of come in a little bit naive, like, but trying to find out how much they're paying people. Because I think, like you say, it's a really important thing. If someone's earning, 5,000 Rand a month, and they're making all these clothes, they're never going to be able to move up to the next level. They just won't. It's not going to happen. So I think definitely, again, it's like that honest, like talking to your suppliers is so important, and having that relationship and not feeling, I feel like when I make a supplier, I really want it to be literally for life. Like, this is a marriage, and I'm with them, and they always go, oh, Sindiso, you even text me from London. Like, I know I am, because this is like a long relationship. So I think definitely building that kind of like, then they can open up a bit, because people are always very funny about telling you how much they pay their workers. But that's the only way I found out about the pension package, was through asking little questions and stuff and probing a little bit. But yeah, it's definitely about asking, because you are a customer, so you can ask.
So do you think, as a designer, the choice in supply you make, are you responsible for the choices that they're making for their workers or for their kind of supply chain?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think as a consumer, the choice in clothing I wear, there's a responsibility in your choice. Absolutely. And I think, you know, if I walked into a space and I saw, like, you know, it just not looking cool, that's on me, you know, and that's on my conscience. And so I guess for me, like, I'm lucky, I have been lucky. I've had some really good suppliers, and especially when it comes to sewing work, because I think people don't like appreciate that actually sewing is handcraft. You know, it's a craft. I cannot sew this jumpsuit like this. Like, I can sew, I know how to sew, but I cannot make it as well as they can make it. It's a craft, it's a skill. And that's kind of what I want to do with my school, is basically like the sort of goal, because one of us, we were all sort of complaining as designers, not complaining, but feeling like, number one, it's quite difficult to get big factories to get on board with you unless you say, hey, I've got an order with Woolworths, and they're like, oh, yeah, of course. But most of the time, it's really difficult because you're like, hey, I only want 30 units and that sort of thing. So we were saying what I want to do with the school is actually start a kind of school where you train up women who just make factory clothing. And factory clothing is probably the cheapest type of clothing to be made. I think it goes for about 100 Rand for the set. And so training those women up to make clothing that's a bit more couture, higher end finishings, because they have the craft of sewing, and then get them through the school, and then us as designers can basically begin to support our businesses with them. You know, it's kind of like an exchange. So getting their skills up to a certain point and then, you know, working together with them. And that's basically my goal with the school, is to be able to have a kind of place of CMT that designers like Leleso or Lucanio or my designer friends can use, and it's a high-level craft. And if they leave, it's great, because they can go somewhere else, and when they go to the next job, they're not sewing uniforms. They'll go, listen, I'm sewing these couture clothes that sell in Milan for £500. I need to get paid properly, you know? So, and that's kind of what I think. Upping skills, making it not just base level, like needs to move up a level.
So school is a big focus, but is that the only thing that you're going to be doing, or you still kind of focusing on some design projects and stuff for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still doing my collections every season. I've got a project I'm doing with IKEA, which comes out next year. I do a lot of commission-based work. I've got another one that I have an NDA on. It's annoying, because I really wish it was just launched so I could talk about it. But yeah, no, I'm still doing a lot of textile work. So, and that's, again, like you were saying, how do I fund these things? Like, IKEA will fund a lot of my outreach things. It's just kind of like, you know, using the big boys. Woolworths will fund the whatever thing I'm doing here, like using the big boys to fund the kind of smaller projects, I think. So collaborating with corporates, I think, is good. I mean, I just think, like, you know, there's a real, I said it when I talked to the Design Endowment, there's a real power in collaboration, and most of my best work has come from collaborative projects, not just me in my little bubble trying to make on my own. I just don't think that's not today's world. I think collaboration is like huge, and it makes your work better and so much stronger. And you learn. I mean, I've learned so much just working with these big corporates, and they have a completely different process and structure, and you learn from them, but then also you give them a little bit of like, hey, so do you know how much those Chinese workers are getting paid? You know, like you get a little bit. I feel like if you want to have an agenda, it's so much better to do it from inside than to kind of shout from the outside. And so that's why I try and do a lot of work with corporates, because I think I can shout about it better if I'm inside.